Medhavi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivarat Hari Balaba Girivarat Hari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivarat Hari Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Bana Chare Jamuna Tira Bana Chare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavind Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavind Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Radhanata, Radha Radhanata, Shri Radhe. Radhanata, Radha Radhanata, Jaya Radha Radhanata, Radha Radhanata, Shri Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya, Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari. Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nastapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Canto 4, Chapter 24, Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Text number 71. Yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrataha samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita yoga adesham. This instruction of bhakti yoga, upasadya, constantly reading, darayanta, and taking within the heart, munivrataha. Just take the vow of the great sages, the vow of silence, samahita, always fixed in the mind, diya, with intelligence, sarve, all of you, etat, this, abhyasata, practice, ajitaha, with great reverence. Translation. My dear princes, in the form of a prayer, I have delineated the yoga system of chanting the holy name. All of you should take this important stotra within your minds and promise to keep it in order to become great sages. By acting silently like a great sage and by giving attention and reverence, you should practice this method. Please repeat. My dear princes, in the form of a prayer, I've delineated the yoga system of chanting the holy name. All of you should take this important stotra within your minds and promise to keep it in order to become great sages. by acting silently like a great sage, and by giving attention and reverence. You should practice this method. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In the Hatha Yoga system, one has to practice bodily exercises, jhana, dharana, asana, meditation, etc. One also has to sit in one place in a particular posture and concentrate his gaze on the tip of the nose. There are so many rules and regulations for the Hatha Yoga system that it is practically impossible to perform it in this age. There are so many rules and regulations for the Hatha Yoga system that it is practically impossible to perform it in this age. The alternative system of Bhakti Yoga is very easy, not only in this age, but in others as well. For this yoga system was abdicated long ago by Lord Shiva when he advised the princes, the sons of Maharaj Prachinabarisha. The Bhakti Yoga system is not newly introduced. For even 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna recommended this Bhakti Yoga as the topmost yoga. As Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 47, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatin antaratmana shradhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The topmost yogi is he who constantly thinks of Krishna within himself and chants the glories of the Lord. In other words, this system of Bhakti Yoga has been existing from time immemorial and is now continuing in this Krishna consciousness movement. The word Munivrata is significant in this regard because those who are interested in advancing in spiritual life must be silent. Silence means talking only of Krishna Katha. This is the silence of Maharaj Ambarish. Savai Manat Krishna Padaravindayor Vaichamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarnane. Quote, King Ambarish always fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord and talked of him only. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, Text 19. We should also take this opportunity in life to become as good as a great saint, simply by not talking unnecessarily with unwanted persons. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Munivrata. The intelligence must be very sharp, samahitadiya, and should always be acting in Krishna consciousness. The words etad abhyasat tadrita indicate that if one takes these instructions from a spiritual master with great reverence, adrita, and practice them accordingly, he will find this Bhakti Yoga process to be very, very easy. Yogadesham upasadya darayanto munivrata samahita diya sarva etad abhyasa tadrita. My dear princes, in the form of a prayer, I've delineated the yoga system of chanting the holy name. All of you should take this important stotra within your minds and promise to keep it in order to become great sages. By acting silently like great sages, and by giving attention and reverence, you should practice this method. Om Jnana Tarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Bande Sri Gurun Dinatarinam. Vanchakalpatrivascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, in the beginning, in text number 33, Lord Shiva describes this prayer, and in this verse he's describing stotra. But usually we figure stotra is one verse. But here there are 36 verses. 36 verses. So he's asking everyone to remember 36 slokas. So that's a little, well, in the olden days when people were all able to remember things nicely, it would have practically been a practical instruction. But in these days, that's really something special. But we only have to remember one stotra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, though all the other slokas don't directly advise the chanting of the holy name, still this is our basic instruction. Srila Prabhupada, when he started the Bhaktivedanta Library Party, BBT Library Party, he asked the devotees to go out and distribute sets of Bhagavatam, Srimad, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to universities. And not only that, but he wanted them to gather recommendations and appreciations from the different professors. So some of the professors were, atheistic demons, really. But in their normal way, Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Srimad Mahaprabhu Giriraj Govardhan Ki. They offered what they thought was an appreciation. One professor said that he admired Swami Bhaktivedanta's presentation in Sanskrit and all, but he was a little disturbed that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami mentioned in every verse Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, and when Krishna wasn't being mentioned in the verse. Krishna wasn't being mentioned in the verse, but still Prabhupada mentioned Krishna in the translation and in the purport. So when they told Prabhupada that, he said, yes, I must remind you fools that Krishna is in every verse. Sarva, was it? Anyway, the 15:15. Krishna says that I am the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Even I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So in every verse, Srila Prabhupada mentions Krishna. Why? Because our minds and our hearts are so steeped in enviousness and jealousy that we don't want to hear about Krishna. We don't want to hear about Krishna. And therefore, by chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about Krishna, we're showing that our disease of materialistic enviousness is being gradually removed. Sat Krishna Nama Charitari Satapya Vidya Pito Patapta Rasanasya Narochi Kanu Kintwadarad anudinam kalasaiva justam sadvikramad bhavati tadgata mulahantri. Mulahantri. So mula means the root. The root. Mulahantri means destroyed. So this ignorance, which is compared to jauntus, Sat Krishna Nama Charitari Satapya Vidya, avidya, pitopatapta. That's ignorance of jauntus, the jauntus-like condition. Anybody ever had jauntus? Anyone? Yes? Jauntus? So it's interesting, it's not very nice, but it's interesting that if somebody gives you sugar, it doesn't taste sugary. It tastes quite bitter. It doesn't taste like, you say, well, what is this? That's not sugar. Sugar is supposed to be sweet. But it's not sugar. It's not sweet because the liver is infected with a bilious, not working properly. So, but the sugar candy is the medicine for curing a jauntus. Just as chanting the holy name of Krishna is the cure for our ignorance and enviousness. By chanting Hare Krishna, by hearing about Krishna, that's an indication that our disease is being removed gradually. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, ISKCON is a hospital. A hospital. And people come to the hospital to get cured of their diseases. So that's a fact. And when you get cured, just like when they churned the ocean of milk, they didn't get nectar first. They got poison, a horrible poison, which Lord Shiva very kindly disposed of. So when we're practicing, sometimes some of the not very nice characteristics come out, but it's an indication of our purification. So by chanting Hare Krishna, gradually we're doing this for our purification. There are 3 levels, 3 stages of chanting of the Maha Mantra. The first stage is the medicinal stage. Medicinal stage. Medicine that appears disagreeable. Does anybody remember it? Being a child and being given some horrible medicine that you didn't want to take. If it was after, as the years went by, then they started putting strawberry flavoring and, this kind of that. And oh no, it tastes very nice. But originally medicines weren't very nice at all. They were horrible. Anybody remember being given castor oil? Castor oil, not very nice. Not very nice. So it's medicine that appears to be disagreeable. But what is our mood? Our mood is, I have to chant. I have to chant. I need to chant. If I don't chant, then I'm lost. I'm lost. We were mentioning the other day, there was a movie we saw. Of course, my wife won't like me mentioning that. But these astronauts were caught in space. And their ship exploded or something, and there was a parachute and the traces, the ropes from the parachute, and they were floating off into oblivion. But one of them, the ropes from the parachute caught around her leg, and she was able to still keep connection with the spaceship. So that holy name is our lifeline. It's our lifeline. We have to chant. And therefore, when we accept initiation, we have to promise. We have to vow to chant 16 rounds. We were reading that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, some people mention, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, his disciples in the temples, they must chant 64 rounds every day. That's if they're living in the ashram and they're not doing anything else. They must chant 64 rounds. But if people were going out preaching and doing other services like worshiping the deity, caring for preaching, then they only had to do 16. That was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, in case anyone accosts you with the idea that you should be chanting 64. Then tell them, well, if you're sitting in the temple doing nothing, chant 64. But I'm busy cooking, cleaning, and doing other services for the Lord. So, the first point is the medicinal stage. We have to chant. I want to chant. We have to come to the level of understanding that I've got to do this. If I don't do this, then I'm lost in space. I'm lost in space. And even though some days it's very enjoyable to chant, some days it's very agonizing to chant. The bead bag feels like 10 tons, like that. So those are days. It's an indication again of our mountain of sin. The prayers to Lord Jagannath, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatame. The last of these shlokas of the Jagannath Astakam. It's an extra sloka, practically speaking. They're asking Lord Jagannath to please remove the mountain of sin. Mountain of sin. Of course, here we don't have many mountains. Cape Town, we got a mountain right in the middle of the city. So it's always kind of there. So we have sinful reactions that are like a mountain. So when we're praying, Lord Jagannath, please remove this mountain of sin from our hearts. So, but we have to go beyond all that difficulty and remember that this chanting is my lifeline to the spiritual world. The second stage is called the nourishing stage. Feeling maintained by the holy name. And one feels that one is getting cured. Sometimes you have a disease. You have the flu or something, or worse. And you feel, really low. Your percentage of health is very, very low. But as you take your medicine or whatever, gradually you feel maintained by the holy name. You feel you're getting cured. You're becoming cured. That you don't have an aversion to chanting. You actually kind of like it. And you can feel the benefits. You can feel the benefits of the chanting. I want to chant. I want to chant. Then there's the relishing stage. A sense of enjoyment from the chanting. So mostly we haven't reached that level. That we want to chant all the time. Prabhupada Prabhupada was very humorous at times. The one time he was chanting on his beads, and then he got his beads and he dropped them. He said, 16 rounds finished. Now I can do whatever nonsense I want. So he was kind of imitating our consciousness. Whereas the real devotee doesn't want to stop chanting, wants to continue chanting. But at least get the 16 done. Getting done. That is, I like to chant. I like to chant. So this temple is here especially to give people the opportunity to hear about Krishna and to chant His holy name and His glories. Especially the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And many people appreciated Srila Prabhupada's attempt. You read in the Krishna Samhita, Srila Bhaktivinoda mentions that he would have liked to have made a verse-by-verse presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam, but he said it would take too much time. Srila Bhaktivinoda, who wrote 100 books and composed so many songs. So Srila Prabhupada took on that gigantic task of translating Srimad Bhagavatam. And that was his main service. He wanted to do. That was his main service to his spiritual master. Presenting Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishneti Yasya, the verses are there in the second chapter of the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is, where? The question is asked by the sages. Now that Lord Krishna has left this planet, where do religion and other good qualities, where are they contained? And the answer is, what's the verse? Krishna? Huh? Sorry? Sorry, I can't hear. Yeah. Krishna? Is that on? Anyway, I know it, but the brain is not acting properly. So, it's mentioned Srimad Bhagavatam. And the picture is there in the book of Srila Vyasadeva, and he's holding the Bhagavatam up, and it's like a searchlight. The light coming from the Bhagavatam. So, this material world is dark. Even though the sun is shining, we're in complete darkness. We're not in darkness, the sun is shining. No. But spiritually, we're in the dark, unless we understand the verses and the teachings of Srila Prabhupada as he presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. So every day Prabhupada wanted us to review one verse, and he wanted us to discuss. He wanted us to investigate. He wanted us to examine threadbare. If you have some cloth and it starts wearing out, you can see that the threads are going. So Prabhupada wanted us not just to hear, no, hearing is important, but he wanted us to question, make questions. Practically, there are so many questions. The one question about the stotra being 36 verses. So that may have been a question. Usually stotra refers to one verse. But this stotra is 33 verses. And he's asking the prachetas to remember this stotra and act silently. In the material world, well, in Kali Yuga especially, the truth is judged by volume. If somebody talks loud, then you think, like Julius Malema, excuse me. If they talk loud, then you think they know what they're talking about. That's the kind of the trick of Kali Yuga. If I talk very loud, then I get your attention. And people think I know what I'm talking about. When actually a politician basically is able to say so many words, speak so many words, and say nothing. Say nothing. So we need to hear the words of the Bhagavatam, especially as they're presented by Srila Prabhupada. So we're doing that today as it's done every day. And that is for our spiritual health, so that we can overcome the ignorance, the avidya, the jaundice of materialistic life. And as soon as we walk out the door, then we're absorbed in matter, or matter is all around us. It's all around us, and if we have a consciousness, a dedication to Krishna, understanding that this world is simply there to distract us from our real business of being Krishna conscious. We have our responsibilities, but we do our responsibilities, even taking care of our family, keep taking care of children. It's all a service to Krishna. It's a service to Krishna to reform this world instead of all Varna Sankara. Adharma Bibhavat Krishna Pradushanti Kulastriya Strisu Dustashu Varshnaya Jayate Varna Sankara. It's all just unwanted population. I told the story. I was trying to understand. One of my brothers had passed away. He had passed away. He had cerebral palsy, 100%. He was a big baby. He was 12 years old. He was still in nappies. He was going and going. We had a big chair for him. And he passed away. And after that, I got very... I was usually like in America, everybody wants to be a talk show host. Just say something funny and be entertaining. So I was kind of like that. But after my brother passed away, then I was very quiet. I wouldn't speak unless somebody spoke to me. And I was wondering, well, why am I here? If I die and then I'm forgotten, what's the purpose of me being here? So then I asked my father. I said, Father, why did you bring me here? And of course my father looked at me like, what kind of question is that? What kind of question is that? But in the Vedic culture there would have been. There would have been a reason why a parent would have wanted to bring a child into the world. So we have a purpose. We have a purpose. This life is meant for closing the gap between ourselves in the material world and Krishna and all of his associates in the spiritual world. So we tend to forget. We tend to forget that we have a reason for being here. A very important reason, a very individual reason. Everyone has that reason, but we can't do anything about anybody else. We can only do something about ourselves. So Prabhupada every morning, when we tune in to the spiritual world, gives us the opportunity to remember what our business is, what our real business is. On one level, it's keeping this body as healthy as possible. We were talking to a nice Mataji this morning. And, you know, as we get older, into the late 60s, 70s, and more, then the body starts giving all kinds of difficulties. And maybe we weren't so great at keeping it, the machine going very well when we were younger. But now we know we have to take care of this body. We can't abuse it. We have to give it special attention if we want it to last any longer. But still our basic duty is to become Krishna conscious. Our basic duty is to become self-realized, to understand we're not this body, we never were. For the self-realized soul, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, after the Bhaktivedantas left, and his mother was bitten by a snake and died. He was all alone. And then he was traveling, and he mentioned that death came. And he said it was like thunder and illumination at the same time. We're scared of dying. But dying is the least of our problems, actually. Our big problem is taking birth again. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions, for one who is born, death is certain. And for one who is dead, birth is certain. So what kind of birth will we have? What kind of birth? We're going to die. Well, what will our consciousness be? Will we come back as a dog or a cat? Will we come back as a elevated soul? Will we come back as a prince or princess with a golden spoon in our mouth? Or will we come back as a rat or a cockroach? Prabhupada mentioned the one time in a lecture, he said, people are so attached to their houses. They're so attached to their houses, make the house very nice. So when they come back, and some people, not everyone, if they're impious, they can come back as a cockroach or a mouse or a rat in their house. And of course their family will try to exterminate them. So this is what you get for building a nice fancy house. You can't take it with you. You can't take anything. Nice house is nice. Nice house is nice for inviting devotees over to fill them up on prasadam and chant crazy kirtan. Not crazy, but nice kirtan. invite them over to hear about Krishna. Then it's a nice house. Otherwise, it's just a tomb. It's a tomb. Especially nowadays, you've got your home alarm, you've got your palisade fencing, you've got your barbed wire, you've got your electric system. If you read the story in the Krishna book about Narakasura, was it Narakasura or Banasura? That Krishna went there to fight with him, and he had a gaseous boundary, he had electrical wiring, he had the whole security system there that Krishna destroyed. A gaseous, we haven't tried that one yet. Start having a gas, a cyanide gas spray. When you get past the electric fencing and the barbed wire, then there's a cyanide spray that will finish you off. So we haven't come there. Maybe someone can investigate that and become the next millionaire like that. So you see, the demons, they've got this all planned. But a devotee's home is for inviting other devotees. We're practicing Krishna consciousness and inviting other devotees to hear and chant and sanctify one's home with their presence. Hare Krishna. So we're finished here. Did anyone have any other points that weren't called? We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. So we have to try that. We have to realize more and more as time goes by. We're listening to Swarup Damodar, but he's talking about His Holiness Giriraj Swami and how he used to be very active. He used to walk. He used to send pictures of him walking in Carpentaria. But now he doesn't want to walk, he just wants to sit and chant. But he needs to get some exercise going. So he's trying to encourage him, and His Holiness Bhakti Chanimar, his next parikrama, he's going to make special attempt to go to not very popular, not very well-known places that not so many devotees have visited, in order to attract Maharaj to also come like that. So we need our exercise. We need our exercise. We need our exercising of chanting Hare Krishna, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtana, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vasa, Sri Murtaya, Sevaya Sevan, Sevaya Shradaya Savan. So we have to associate with devotees. We have to chant Hare Krishna. We have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to live in a sacred place, or at least visit it, this wonderful temple that devotees work so hard to collect funds and to build. And we're happy to see that it's nicely being maintained. And we have to worship Krishna with faith and affection. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhu. Anything?
I liked in the beginning when Prabhupada would first each word and then the verse, and it makes it easier. Quite often people just read line by line and they skip doing it that way, but if you listen to Prabhupada classes, first time through he repeats each word.
Yeah.
That's why we do it that way, because Prabhupada did it that way.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to follow.
Well, sometimes there's some long words, and then...
What's that?
Sometimes there's some tricky words, and if you kind of don't break them down individually, then people, they can't recite, except great sages and geniuses like yourself.
To listen how Prabhupada gave them. I think in this country it isn't one of the biggest reading countries.
Put it closer, we can't hear.
You find a few people like yourself, Swarup Damodar, of course Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, and Jai Sachinandan. They know many things from it, but I find sometimes like I'm giving a class and I'll ask simple things and many people don't know it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good year to start increasing reading.
Yeah.
You sit down with a certain amount you're going to read, or certain ones, and when you discuss it, you remember it. That's why I came up with certain riddles
Yeah.
that make you have to think about what
think
the
about
answer
it.
to that is.
Keep the old brain working. Well, tadvidi pranipatena pari prasnena sevya upadekshani te gyanam gyaninas tadvarshana. We should approach. We should inquire submissively, and we should ask questions. It's not that we understand everything. It's not that we accept everything. We were reading in the Nectar of Instruction, in verse number 5, is talking about Shravana Dasa. Now there's hearing, but then there's accepting. And if you don't accept, then it means you've got to, that's the function of the intelligence, is to doubt. If you doubt something, you don't understand something, you don't accept something, then that's good. But it's not good if you don't inquire. So we have to inquire. And Prabhupada mentions in that verse, not foolish inquiries or blind following. So everyone should be asking questions. As soon as I read the verse, everyone should be asking questions. Who are these princes? If we haven't been here during the course of the discussion. So many questions, but this world has taught us not to ask questions. Be cool. You ask a question of your teacher in university, and he says, "What a stupid question." He doesn't know the answer. But so all he can do is preserve his pride by attacking you. It's a perfectly reasonable and adequate question. But you don't know the answer because you also just accepted it. It was forced down your throat, and then you just vomited it back without any understanding. So we should inquire. We should question. Well, Prabhu, it says this, but it's talking like this is an important stotra, but it's like 36 verses. How do you expect somebody to remember 36 verses? So there's a palastuti. Pala means fruit. So in the coming verses it mentions that if you recite this every day, or it says morning and evening, then so much spiritual benefit will be there. Even though we don't understand. Srila Prabhupada, when you would listen to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta speak, and anyone who's read the Brahma Samhita, which was presented with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's purports, his language is so elevated. I mean, if he talks at a regular tone, you can't follow him. He uses such big words and such valid terminology, but he was a genius. Is a genius. So we should have questions. And to ask a question is not that I don't know. To ask a question means I want to know. I want to know. It's not like I don't understand and I don't care. Well, that's okay, because the more you hear it, then it will soak in. It will come by osmosis even. But we need to inquire. And when we were early devotees, the Bhagavatam class would be there, and the speaker, good speakers, not like me, they would pose a question. And all through the day, devotees were discussing, well, he said this, and, he said that. And you'd be thinking about what had come out in the Bhagavatam. And you learn the verse. Learn the verse. You used to write the verses down on a card. You used to write the verses down on a card with the synonyms. And we used to, when we're walking around or doing anything, we'd look at the verse and say, oh, Savai Pum Samparo Dharmo. Like that. And you can learn verses, because they're very important words for our consciousness. Thank you, Ruth.
I don't doubt what's in the Bhagavad Gita, but I quite often doubt what's on the internet, and quite often you fact check, and many things are not actually true that are on there.
Yeah,
Although some of it on the internet is true.
yeah. So you have to be very careful who you listen to.
Don't repeat it until you find out its validity.
Yeah. You can take anything you get on the internet with a big grain of salt. And that's why Prabhupada wanted us to know the Shastra. Like a lawyer knows the law books. So if somebody says something, you ask them, well, where does that from? Oh, no, I thought about it. Well, I don't care what the hell you say. Perhaps, maybe, it might be, it should be, it possibly. Prabhupada said that's a fool. Don't listen to fools. We were traveling on Sankirtan with a very nice devotee. His name was Kalyapani, who's late now. But in England, it's not a very big country, but it's there's cities, big places, just a few kilometers away from each other. And the roads are very kind of intricate, like a tangle almost. So sometimes you didn't have a map, or you want to go from Scunthorpe to Bolton or something. And you'd stop and ask somebody, can you tell me the way to Rotherham? And the person would say, well, I think. And as soon as he said, I think, he said, thank you, and roll up the window and drive on. So as soon as people say, I think, or it might be, or possibly, then they don't know. So, but the Bhagavatam is giving us the truth, the absolute truth. Reality distinguished from illusion for the benefit of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, composed by Srila Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient for self-God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? Kim va parar ishra. What is the need of any other scripture? People say you could burn down the library, but just keep Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and you've got enough. And we have the books, but we're not reading them. Prabhupada would be traveling around the world, and different devotees in different parts of the world were distributing his books, lots of his books, and he was very pleased. And many times they would go on the morning walk or have a darshan with Prabhupada. And inevitably, Prabhupada always asked, but are you reading my books? And one tape, it was in Italy or France, and these devotees were distributing hundreds of Bhagavatam, big books, every day. And Prabhupada asked him, well, are you reading my books? And the devotee said, well, Prabhupada, we don't have time. And there was a devotee next to Prabhupada, and he heard Prabhupada turn to the side and said, what is the use? What is the use? We think the books are just for distributing. No, the books are for us. He wrote the books for us. And if we want to know Prabhupada, if we want to develop our relationship with Prabhupada, we can meet him every day in the pages of Bhagavatam. So that's how ISKCON will survive. ISKCON will survive as devotees are more and more attached and dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. And I was very fortunate to be initiated by Srila Prabhupada, by his great mercy. But he gave me my beads, and that was it. That was the closest I got. And there were only a couple of times when I even saw him from a distance, attended a class. There were some devotees that, Prabhupada knew that they were leaders, and he could use them to teach others. But if you want Prabhupada's association, if you feel deprived that you didn't have Prabhupada's association, you got it right in front of you. You've got it right in front of you. I don't like to hear that. Because you can have as much and even more of Prabhupada's association by studying his books. There were devotees even who were personal servants of His divine grace, but they were attached to Prabhupada's personal presence. And after Prabhupada left, they had problems because Prabhupada personally wasn't there to correct them. They had problems, but most of us, we were just soldiers in the army, soldiers in the field. So we knew what the orders were. We knew what the instructions were. And we followed them. We didn't expect to see Prabhupada or to get any appreciation for Prabhupada, though we knew it was there. We did we fought the battles on the field. So that's still available to everyone. And according to one's sincerity, it's available fully, completely to everyone. We just have to pick up these books. So that's an important thing for everyone. At least we sit and hear one verse every day. But we should have our own time. Krishna consciousness is an individual process. It's not a group thing. It's you and Krishna, you and Prabhupada. Don't think that everybody else is part of it. There are things that you can only do for yourself. And this is one of them. One of the most important things, to develop your relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Nit Radha Radhanath ki, Srimad Giriraj Govardhan ki, Srimad Mahaprabhu ki. Haribol. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to eat, because then I have to take a bath.